Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping in yet again to another beer from Anchorage Brewing Company, but this time we're jumping over to one of their IPAs. We do a lot of their stouts and big, heavy imperial dark beers, but they're equally as adept at doing IPAs, and I'm a big fan. This is a new IPA from them for me. This one's called Wolf Child. It's a double IPA that clocks in at 8.4% ABV. Anchorage Brewing is based in Anchorage, Alaska. So there's no tricks, no gimmicks with this. It's just a classic double IPA. No additives, no lactose. It's just a standard double IPA. So, as always, label art on here. They've kind of got this skull motif. They have that on a lot of their art for their various beers. It looks very, very cool. Nice, clean, sleek design on this black can. Yet again, we're using our nice tall over a pint all-purpose glass, so we probably won't be able to get the whole beer in here since this is a pint and it's probably going to form a nice head, but we'll see. I get that poured. Speed it up a little bit for that head creation. Then we're going to be a little more gentle back down the side. That's kind of my trick. I watch it visually. Instead of maintaining just one angle, one point of the pour or the tilt, there's a lot of real estate in your glass when you're pouring a beer. So feel free to move it around and use it. Nobody's judging you. Get it poured how you want it. I mean, at day's end, that for me is just about a perfect pour for an IPA. So we'll turn around for the label art. It's called Wolf Child. So big aroma coming off of this beer already, I could tell you. As I was pouring it, I could smell it. Now it's a little bit closer to my face. It's very pronounced. Visually, this is a true golden yellow color. Pretty much looks how I would expect for a double. This one does have a little bit of a haze about it. So they didn't classify it as a hazy, but you might make an argument that it is. But it looks very, very nice in the glass. A nice creamy, thick, foamy head there on top. So let's get right up for a full sniff. Yeah, that smells fantastic. So mostly what I'm getting off of this is a mix of citrus and tropical fruit. There's a little pineapple, there's a little orange, there's a little lemon, there's a little tangerine, there's some mango, there's some passion fruit. It's kind of this nice hodgepodge. I'm not getting any earthy undercurrents off of the aroma. I'm not getting any resin, any pine, any floral notes. It's entirely citrus and tropical fruit. It smells fantastic. Very bold flavors. And that combination is lovely. Yeah, God, that smells great. So, without further ado, we're going to jump right in and see what this one's about. Yeah, that's a nice beer. It's a very nice beer. So, this isn't a pungently bitter forward beer, but I would say it's probably on the high end of average in terms of bitter pungency for a double IPA. It's got some backbones. There's a good bit of bitters. It's not super in your face, but it's there. It doesn't lack them. That's the best way I could classify it. But before we get into this flavor profile and what I'm getting on the taste side of the equation, we're going to talk about the texture. For the body and the mouthfeel. The body on this, to me, feels kind of border between medium heavy. It's maybe not quite as robust as I expected for 8.4 on a double IPA, but that's not a super high ABV. If a standard kind of Goldilocks zone for a normal IPA is around 7%, this is only 1.4% ABV higher. So that doesn't sound like a lot. In the grand scheme of things for beer talk, that's kind of statistically significant, but it's not super high enough to make a drastic jump in the weight of the beer. And this really feels maybe not quite as robust as I expected, but it's not too far off what I would consider top tier for this style in the ABV range. So on the border between medium heavy. It's got presence. It's just not quite as weighty as I expected. For the mouthfeel, it's got a nice bit of resistance. The mouthfeel feels very much exactly like I expected for the style, and this ABV range to be certain. And this is one of those that agitation on the palate does give a very nice silky, creamy texture to it as you roll it around the palate, let those flavors coat. Very, very nice. So, in terms of the flavor profile, there's a lot that was happening here, and I was really first paying most attention to texture. So since I got plenty of beer here, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in for a second sip, let everything re-intensify. We'll pick apart this flavor profile and we'll talk about this finish. But on first sip, very, very nice beer. Anchorage tends to do a very good job. This is no exception. So take two. Yeah, medium, heavy body, nice resistant mouthfeel that feels appropriate. So when you swallow, there's an interesting combination of flavors. There's a little bit of underlying citrus that comes through. There's a little bit of underlying tropical fruit that comes through, but there's this floral quality on the flavor profile as well. And there is a little bit of earthiness, but there's a pretty significant amount of kind of resinous. So we didn't get all of these kind of qualities on the aroma side, but they're definitely present on the flavor profile in the glass. So flavor-wise, kind of reminds me on the citrus side, a mix of grapefruit and orange. There's really no lemon or lime or kind of sub-varieties of those. It's very much grapefruit and orange or tangerine, things of that nature. On the tropical fruit side, it's kind of pineapple dominant with maybe just a suggestion of passion fruit, but very, very nice. And then there's this little kick of earthiness underneath it. And there's this big kind of floral quality, like kind of the aroma of flower blooms. That's what I mean when I say floral. And the flavor tastes like that aroma. I know most people don't sit around eating flower blooms, but imagine transposing the aroma of a flower bloom into a flavor profile. There you arrive at what a floral hop flavor profile tastes like. And lest we not forget that over 90% of the sense of taste is related to smell, which is why most things taste like what they smell like. But nonetheless, we get that in there, and there is this distinct resinous quality. It's not piney, but it's resinous. And what I mean by that is almost like the cryo extract that you would get from the hop flower. It's that you could almost use the word dank, might be a pretty good qualifier, but that's very much what I'm getting in this glass. It's very layered. It's got a lot of presence, both in terms of aroma and flavor profile. Absolutely delicious. It's a big beer. 8.4 on a double, yeah, you would expect it to be, but it's got a lot of presence to it. In terms of the finish, it's not super long, but it's not short. I would say it's average. That's about where I would put it. If it were a little more intense on the bittering side of things, a little more in your face, it would probably have a little more staying power, a little more driving force. But as it were, for the style, for the ABV range, it's basically average. But overall, absolutely delicious beer. I like trying a lot of, I mean, really, I'll try anything that pops up on my tavour from Anchorage Brewing. I've had such great success with their beers. Absolutely love what they're doing there. And I've had many other IPAs. It's been a while since I've had one, and this is just what the doctor ordered. Just another great beer by Anchorage. I'm going to take my time, sip on this, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this one ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was Anchorage Brewing Company's Wolfchild, a double IPA that clocks in at 8.4% ABV. Anchorage Brewing Company is based in Anchorage, Alaska. So starting with the aroma on this one. This one was really big, really full. It was one that was so pronounced as you were pouring it, foot and a half away from that glass, you could really smell it. Just a ton of different layers of aromas, really, really pungent, smelled absolutely fantastic. Aroma gets a 10 out of 10. For the taste, overall, I really enjoyed the flavor of this beer. In particular, the interplay of the different flavors that popped in and out and worked together. Really, the only critique I had on this was for an IPA, I would have liked a little more bitter presence. It was there, but it was not a particularly bitter double IPA, or IPA for that matter. I don't typically go for doubles for that fact. As a rule, the higher the ABV gets, the more that the bittering effect of the hops in the beer tends to dial back naturally. I was just craving more bitters in this one. But aside from that, the flavor itself was really, really nice, well above average. Taste gets an 8 out of 10. For the body on this had a pretty good weight to it. It was certainly above average, but just shy of kind of where I expected for a nearly 8.5% double IPA. Body gets a 9 out of 10. For the mouthfeel on this beer felt exactly right to me. It really had a nice bit of resistance, paired well with that body. Just the mouthfeel was a bit more voluptuous than the weight of the body. So just a slight disparity there, but it was pretty close. Mouthfeel does get a 10 out of 10. For the finish on this beer, obviously we just talked about this in the flavor. It was really just average, and this is kind of the norm. If there's not a big bittering presence in an IPA, it's not typically going to have that driving force to push out the length on the end of the finish and have like really heavy residual flavors that linger around the palate. This was just the average range. It just didn't have the intensity of bitters to push it out. Finish gets a 5 out of 10. For the head and the retention, this one did a fantastic job. Perfect 10 out of 10. For the appearance, this was a beautiful double IPA. That big, bold, deep, true golden yellow color. Appearance gets a 10 out of 10. For the balance, overall, in the grand scale, I really enjoyed the balance of this beer. The only thing, again, and you could probably guess, is I would have balanced a little more alpha extraction from the hops in the boil phase just to get a little more bitters into there. It would have added a little more depth of flavor, certainly would have helped out the finish, but minor nitpick. Overall, the balance was great. Balance gets a 9 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, subjectively, I really liked it, but I'm a massive hophead. I was craving more bitters. I only docked 1 point though, it gets a 9 out of 10. Finally, as an example of the style. So overall, this was a very well done, well put together double IPA. I think as a representative of what the style is, this is well above average. For me though, I would have made the tweaks to the alpha acid side of the equation. There's some people that probably would really like this because it's not as bitter intense, but you know, there's New England style IPAs for a reason. This is a double IPA. Let's get a little more alphas extracted in there. Let the IPA speak as, you know, it really should for the style for my money. But again, it was very well executed, an excellent hop bill, an excellent malt bill. It tasted fantastic, it smelled fantastic. I was just craving a little more bitters on this one, so docked 1 point here as well. Example of this style gets a 9 out of 10, which does bring the total score on Anchorage Brewing Company's Wolfchild to an 89 out of 100. So yet again, another beer from Anchorage, well above average. You know, I've had quite a few of their IPAs. Some are far more bitter forward, some are dialed back. So if you're more into the New England, not quite as bitter intense, but like IPAs for what they are, this is probably one for you. If you're a true bitter hop head, you might find this one lacking, but I still would say it's worth your time because it was so well executed and the flavor and the aroma profile alone, absolutely worth it. Just a delicious beer. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.